So I'm Emily Reineke with Crew Network. I'm our Chief Member and Chapter Services Officer. So I technically right now I'm sitting in Virginia, just outside DC. I work from my home in the DC area. Wendy Mann and I are based here in Washington, DC, and then most of the rest of our team is in Kansas. So I've got a few folks joining me today from my team in Kansas. So I see Krista is awesome, and Krista's got me on the next slide. I'm going to give folks probably about 30 more seconds to join in, since we've just hit the top of the hour here. And if you're just joining us, please feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. We've got folks from all over, a lot, couple East Coasters, Mountain Time, California folks. I know it's 9 a.m. there. Thanks for joining us first thing in the day. All right, so while we do let folks come in for a few more moments, I will get moving. I want to make sure that we are in and out efficiently, use everybody's time. I know you've got busy days, so thank you for making time to be here today, for taking time out of your day to focus on Crew. And oh, we've got rain in Tucson, look at that. Glad you joined us. Who is that? Rosemary. Okay, so joining me today, I've got two members of my team. We've got Krista and Chloe here. And first, I want to share exciting news. Many of you work with Krista pretty closely. And if you don't know yet, Krista is actually getting married this weekend. So let's get a round of applause and love and celebrations for Krista. So we are so happy for her. And so I put here on the screen her new last name. It will be Krista Bechtel. So if you start seeing that name pop up in your inbox, you know it's our awesome Krista Lovett, who you know and we all adore. So be on the lookout for that. So that is Krista. So she's working limited hours the rest of this week. Clearly, there's a lot to do to prep for a wedding on Saturday. So with that, if you need anything from Krista, highly recommend you get it in today. She's got some follow-up that she'll be doing the rest of this week to get ready to take next week off. And certainly while Krista is out, you can always reach me if you need anything. Also, in other exciting news, I've got Chloe here with me today, and Chloe is a new addition to the team. She started at the end of June and is really a rock star already. She's serving a number of chapters, and then also is able to assist with some of the membership invoicing. As you'll see, I'll get to a slide later. We have seen a great increase in the number of team members that we are getting to join Crew. So with that comes, of course, more work to get everybody invoiced and so Chloe will be helping a lot with new members, but a little bit of tag teaming with Krista. So you might see Krista loop Chloe in on some emails, as well as Chloe is managing some of our membership inbox requests that come in. So excited to introduce you to Chloe, who is also here, certainly while Krista is away, we'll be helping out, but the timing, we're introducing them together, but they're unrelated events. Krista is getting married and we have extra help from Chloe. So, so that is the great news there. All right, so now moving on to really the bulk of our time together. Today, we're going to talk about both membership renewals as well as membership recruitment, the 15 for 12 membership campaign. So before I dove into that, I actually wanted to share this graphic with you all. As you know, my background's in the membership world. I work with different associations, trade and professional, around membership, and I've got lots of different experiences and know different things that have worked and some that haven't worked at different associations. So I received this as just a general email yesterday, and I thought it was something that you all might want to see. When you think about membership, there's lots of different stages. And today we're specifically going to talk about two of them, but I'm mentioning this because members move pretty fluidly between them. So If you think back to before you were a crew member, there was a day that you weren't a crew member. Hopefully for many of you, it was long ago. There was a moment when you first learned about crew. That's awareness building. That is maybe someone told you about it, or maybe your boss or someone at your company said you check out this organization. That's the awareness stage. And at some point, anybody who decides to join starts in that awareness state. Then there is the recruitment phase. And this is where there's more activities that we can do as chapters or as a network to bring people in. So this is when they start attending events, maybe as non-members, or they sign up for our newsletter list and they want to get more information. So that's the active recruitment phase. Then it moves into the decision to join acquisition. Some chapters still require event attendance or sponsors or references for membership. So this acquisition phase would include that as well, up until the moment that they click submit on their application. And those three stages are pretty obviously important. You can't get anywhere else until you get them to make that decision to join. The decision to join is then followed by the onboarding process, which is crucial. And this is also something that will be focused more on at the network level as we move into 2023, because the decision to renew actually begins the day that members decide to join. They look at what they're getting, where they see value, how they get plugged in or don't get plugged in, how they feel welcomed. So the more activities that both chapters and network can do to get them onboarded and plugged in to activities makes all the difference when it comes to renewal time. So onboarding leads into engagement, where they attending committee meetings, participating in committees, or some people, their form of engagement might just be reading newsletters. So engagement is going to look different for every person, as well as different stages that they are in. Speaking personally, I'm part of an association and I've been really active and attended retreats and served on committees. And then as I changed jobs, I'm not volunteering right now. And that doesn't mean I'm not engaged, but I'm engaging in the ways that make sense for me. So I mention that because when we talk about engagement, it can be, anything from your president who's doing everything to a member who just wants to read your newsletters and, maybe attend an annual event. So engagement can look a lot of ways. We are also going to be working on, a pathway to membership to help chapter leaders as well as new members who are joining understand ways that they can get engaged. So lots of exciting initiatives coming for 23. You got a sneak peek there. After the engagement comes the renewal stage, and that's what Christal will talk about in a moment. How do we get them, again, to pull out their credit card or send a check in the mail to say, I commit to this organization for another year? And then, of course, the ongoing retention. So with that, I hope that was helpful to give you all a sense of lay of the land of membership. Questions about that before I move on? All right, so with that, today we're going to talk about two things, renewals and then the 15 for 12 membership campaign. So Krista, I'll turn it over to you to talk about renewals.
Thank you, and thanks everyone. I'm just going to jump right in. So the first couple of things I've needed from you all to prepare for renewals is your 2023 membership rates and the updated membership roster. I've received almost everyone's 2023 rates. We also need that for the new members. So there's only a handful of chapters I'm still following up with, but I will follow up with your chapter directly. So if you do not hear anything from me, I have everything that I need. And one thing that we did differently this year is we created a separate form for membership roster updates. And that has been very successful. I've seen lots of submissions come in, which is great. This is really going to help us be successful with renewals. So just know that I will make sure to have all of those updated by November 1st. So definitely before the first renewal invoice is created. Okay, and then going on into the timeline of renewals. So November 1st, we have all of the renewal invoices created and added to the members' accounts. From there, they have the memberships technically expire December 31st. So December 31st, the membership will expire, but we do have a grace period that goes until February 14th. And we will send out a final notice to renew. Hopefully that triggers people to go on and renew, and just know that removing the invoices is not it does not happen automatically. I want to make sure I get everybody's membership payments in, everything's clean and tidy before I drop people. So while we send the final notice February 14th, I do not drop memberships until February 28th. Okay, so here we get into more of, this is our timeline and our specific emails that will go out. So the lighter color is crew network emails that will be sent, and the darker color is chapter emails that we will have toolkit and have everything for you that we are going to ask you all to send. Crew network is going to do a heavier load in November and December. Our goal is to get 50% renewals in by December 31st. So that's why we are going to take initiative and do heavier lifting. Two things I do want to point out is that very first email on November 3rd that will come from Crew Network. And it's going to be just a simple, hey, it's time to renew. Please log in and you can view your invoice. That first email is sent from our email systems. And unfortunately, sometimes because of people's security software that they have, it will get caught in their spam filter. It will get caught. So it may not actually reach the person, reach the member that we're trying to reach. So that second email on November 9th will come from the chapter. And what we're asking is for your chapter to do a mail merge and send an email that also says your invoice is available. And what a mail merge does, if you're not familiar, is it sends and it gives you the ability to send a mass email, but the way it is delivered to the receiver is it looks as if it was just a one-off email that was sent. So this will give you the ability to see, first off, if there are any bounce backs on the email. So if people have changed companies in the past month or so since you've reviewed the roster, if an email is spelled incorrectly, and then it will hopefully also reach the members inbox. So our goal is between either Crew Network's first email or the chapter's follow-up email. Either one of those will reach the member. So as I said, November and December, Crew Network will do heavy lifting. Our goal is 50% renewals. So then in January and February, your chapter can do more personalized outreach. And we find that by the time January and February hits, that's kind of people who need that extra little nudge. One thing you may have noticed filling out, if you had filled this out in the past, or if you had not, you may not have noticed this, but in the details form where we ask for your renewal rates, we used to have an option that said, would you like a PDF of all of the invoices sent to you? So we removed that. Instead of sending a PDF to chapters that includes all of the renewal invoices for their chapter in November, we are going to send that in January. You can see that on January 9th. We will send it to all chapters. So every chapter will receive a PDF of all of the invoices that are still open. That way you can then forward it on to the individual member and gives them a little bit of extra personal touch. And also at the Crew Network level, at this point, our system doesn't have the capability to send a personalized invoice. We send them instructions on how to access the invoice. So we will be able to give you the invoice so then you can forward on. I think that's everything on this slide. Okay, and then this is the breakdown of what the actual renewal toolkit is. So we will include the timeline of all the Crew Network emails, and it will also include sample text for the chapter emails that we are asking you all to send. And then it will also include email graphics to be included in those emails. And you can see 2 sample graphics here. These may be tweaked and changed just a little bit, but overall, this is a good representation so you can get the feel of what we're going for renewals. And then we will also include a script for phone calls. Okay, and then other additional I'm sorry, I'm looking at that question. We have not sent the toolkit out yet. We're introducing it on this call, and then as a follow-up, we will send it out. And so I'll make sure that will be posted on GrooveIs. So in addition, some of the Q4 chapter communications you can add in any of the newsletters you send out or any of the event emails you send out, you can include a renewal message as a footer. In any of your events, make sure to announce that renewals is happening and you can log on and access your invoice and get that paid. If you have signed up with us to use the Crew Network app, we can send push notifications for you. And I would say anywhere on your social media, please, also add a renewal message. And just remember too that your audience for social media is going to be members and non-members who see that message. And then finally, you'll see this bullet point. It says member calling campaign. And this is something Emily has brought up and she has seen done successfully in other organizations. This isn't a call to ask individuals to renew their membership. This is a call thanking them for their membership and thanking them for being a valuable member of the organization. And when you let people know that they are valued, the renewal will just happen organically. So, and then finally, we've got a couple of year-end content that you can send out throughout for your renewals and new members, such as your president can send a year-end message just thanking them for what a great year you all had, or how it was an honor to be the president. And then included in the toolkit we'll send a templated infographic of 2022 successes. And what that's going to be is it's going to already include most of the content. You'll be able to change the colors of it to match your chapter's brand. And you'll just be able to drop in specific statistics. So one example is your retention rate overall, like how many retention or the number of events you've had. You'll just be able to drop that number into the infographic. Okay, were there any questions?
All right, we've got a question in the chat. Where can we find the list of members, special events, or meetings to get connected and talk about our services and introduce our company? Are you talking, can you elaborate a little bit more? I'm not sure what your name is actually from what you, how it's showing up there. Can you introduce yourself?
Good morning. This is Paria. I'm with Millennium Consulting. We are engineering consulting. This is a general question that I would like to have. Maybe other ladies could step in and help. I am looking for events or meeting that we could introduce our company, talk about our services, and help other chapters or in our area or other people, or get help from them, and efficiently talk about our services and see how we can get connected. Whether this can be a list of email in our area, or it can be an event to meet and introduce ourselves. How can we do that? Can you please help us?
I'm happy to answer, but Kathy, do you want to go first before I step in?
Sure. I actually had a question on an entirely different matter.
Oh, okay. Then how about let me answer. Sorry, I wasn't sure if your hand was up to help or ask a different question. So what I would say, so there's two pieces here. So what you're looking for is a way to exhibit and showcase who your company is. And I would encourage you to talk to others in your chapters to see what events they have ongoing as ways to sponsor or participate. Some chapters offer like exhibit tables at certain events. So your best way to get some assistance there would be to talk to your local chapter. If you're interested in sponsoring at the network level, please email me. I'm happy to put you in touch with the person who manages our sponsorships. They are year round, starting in 2023. So that's a good time now to get engaged to talk about sponsorships.
Okay, great.
Sure. All right, moving on, Kathy, separate question.
So yeah, just a simple question. And I know Chris is on the call too, Chris Blair. And I send all of my email updates to Chris. Is there a better way to do that? Because when I get member, I mean, it's continuous. It's like people change companies, people do this, people do that. Is that the best way to do it, to send it to Chris? Or do you guys, Chloe and Krista, do you guys want to get that? Because it goes into the member record.
Krista, I would defer to you. I believe this is a good use for the membership info inbox, but I'll let you answer.
I would say, to be honest, I think you could send it to all of us, because then whoever is the first person to get to it will be able to update it. I'm receiving me and Chloe will receive updates from other chapters, so I'd be happy to be included on those as well.
And either way, it gets updated as long as it gets to us.
Sure. And I know it does. And Chris might be delegating it to other people for all I know. I just know that I only send it one place, and I'm sensitive to the fact that as the team is growing on the membership side, that maybe there's a different way that you'd like to have it handled.
Yeah, great question. And I should mention, I've got others on the Career Network team here. I was remiss in not introducing them earlier. We've got Chris Blair, who manages our chapter services team. I see we've got Carolyn Leary, who serves some of our chapters, as well as Laura Van Alstein. I think, unless I might be actually missing people. Who else from my team is on? Am I missing anybody else? Oh, Lindsay, I think I see Lindsay Schwartzendruber. Oh, and Amber sitting up. I've got them as well. So thank you to the chapter services team, who does great work behind the scenes and works with many of you individually. Other questions on renewals? Bonnie, go ahead.
Yeah, so I've noticed an uptick in requests to pay by phone. So I wanted to understand if the 1808 number is a number that someone can call for membership payment, and if anyone answering that phone number can actually accept payment by phone, or does that get routed to another another person? And if how does that work? I want to make sure that we're giving the correct information to no matter who is requesting what type of payment it is.
Yeah, so that does go directly to our office, and the people that Emily just mentioned and myself, we all take turns answering the phone. So it's our direct team that is answering the phone, and any of us can take a payment over the phone. So it usually only takes about 2 minutes. That phone number is correct. I also give out our 785 phone number. I'll put that in the chat.
Perfect.
I don't think it matters. I personally have not called one or the other, and we've received all of them, but I'm also going to this brings up a good point. I'm just going to do a test run with the 1-800 number too, just to make sure it is working correctly. If there's any kind of update, I'll make sure to send that out, but I'm going to put the 785 phone number in the chat as well. Either one of those will work.
Okay, great. Yeah, because I want to be as efficient as possible when sending out these emails, because we're dealing with awards, sponsorship, and then going into member renewals. So being able to provide many forms of options for payments, immediately would be great. So that way we're not having to field that through Chris or to anyone else. Just give them the options, the information right up front. So thank you for that.
Yeah, and I would say when you're directing someone, if they could, we'll answer and it just say, oh, I would like to pay an invoice, instead of I need to speak to someone in the crew DC chapter, because then we'll just be, if they can just start with, I would like to pay an invoice, we can absolutely get that done immediately.
That would be perfect. Yeah, I can definitely include that little message in our rollout. So not a problem.
Yep. And one thing, thanks for asking that, Bonnie, you prompted, and something I wanted to say as well. What we're putting out is recommendations. So your chapter best. You don't have to send as many emails as we recommend. Your chapter, do what's best. We are trying to create lots of options and templates and toolkits so that you can we want to make it easy for you. So don't feel like you've got to let us know if you're sending one or not, or a few days late. We will do our very, very best to stick to what network says of when we're sending, so that you can adjust your communications separately from that. So really our goal here is to be helpful for you, to take as much or as little as you want back to your chapter.
And just adding on that, I tell Emily all the time, my personal goal this year is in March to not have a single member say, I didn't know it was time to renew. We are giving so many opportunities for them to know. So that's a personal goal of mine, to not receive, I didn't know it was time to renew after they had been terminated. So.
Yeah, we have good goals around here. Kathy, you've got another question?
When do I not have too many questions? So what about two things? What about including in the renewal process a request for a donation to Crew Foundation? Is that something that can be done in any kind of an automated way?
So if they pay online, a pop-up, so as they will add their invoice to their cart, and after they do it, a pop-up will show up and it says, would you like to include a donation to the foundation? So that's one automated way when they pay online. With the PDF invoices that we will send out to every chapter in January, there is a bottom section where they can detach, and it has like the invoice number, the amount. There is a second line, so there's a line for the amount. Directly below that is an option that says, I would like to add to the make a donation to the foundation, and they can add the amount and then make a total at the bottom. When they call us, that might be a little trickier, because we don't typically add donations on a line item. So that might be something where we have to loop in our foundation coordinator. So, and then if they send in a check, I believe if they download the PDF off of their account, I believe that there is an additional line for them to add a foundation, but that one I'm not 100% sure about.
I just didn't know if we as a chapter had to elect to include the foundation donation when you pay online. It's going to automatically be there for renewals?
Yes,
Great.
That is an automatic thing that we do
Great.
For every invoice.
Great. Okay, super. And then the rest of the stuff makes perfect sense. And then here's my other question. We are rolling out a code of conduct for members, and we'd like to start figuring out a way to have that acknowledgement by default. So I don't know whether that is an attachment to our form stack, and this is our code of conduct, and by submitting your application, you by default agree to follow it. But then with renewals, maybe there's something else. Really, it's an information campaign, because it doesn't matter if somebody signs it or not. If they are not going to behave according to the code of conduct, we know that we have a different issue. But what we want is that communication, that when you understand that when you're joining Crew, you're going to adhere to a set of standards of conduct. And we had our code of conduct follow one that we did some work with Network and with some other chapters on. Anyway, I just wondered if there's anything that you guys know of that I could use in this process. Maybe it's just an attachment to the emails we send locally. Maybe that's what it is. Just answered my own question. All right.
And I see we've got 2 questions in the chat. I'll take the bottom one. Is there a way for members to automatically send their invoice for renewal to the company accounts payable? So with that, I would say there's not really automatic. The individual member would have to do it themselves. So we will, in beginning of January, you will say you've got 50 members who have not yet renewed. You will get one PDF that has 50 pages in it. Each one is somebody's invoice. So you've got Krista's invoice on page 1, Emily's on page 2, Chloe's on page 3. You can separate that into individual documents through Adobe. And then when you send the email to Krista, say, Krista, attached is your PDF for payment, they need to then forward that email on to their accounts payable team.
And prior to January, they will have to log in and download the invoice to send on. And the reason why we can't automatically send the invoice to accounts payable is because we're using their primary email address to communicate to them. And that primary email address is also used to log into CrewBiz and to access their member benefits and their member-only events that they want to register for. So we can't add a second email that says only send invoices to this email while keeping their member benefits to this email. So that's why.
Yep. And then it looks like Crew Atlanta has asked about the timeline for the donation. I'm actually not sure of that answer. Krista, do you know?
Yes, it will go towards the 2023 year.
Awesome. Well, if you've got more questions, please do put them in the chat. I'm going to move on to the 15 for 12 campaign. And then at the end, we'll certainly have time for questions, both about 15 for 12, as well as if you've got renewal questions that come to mind later. So, all right. So starting, before I go into details, I wanted to share some good news with you all. So what you see here on the screen is actually where we are in terms of our total numbers of members. So, and these numbers are as of September 30th. So they just came out from our accounting team. We are nearly at 12,500 members, which is, yay, really, really exciting. Previously, our highest numbers were in 2019. And remember, these are September numbers, not end of the year. I'm just 9 months. So 2019 was our highest membership year. And then you see the impacts of the pandemic in 20 and 21. But now in 2022, we've made great strides in regaining some of those members who didn't renew, as well as securing a ton of new members. So the next slide actually is a highlight of how many new members we have this year. So if you see the blue line on the top, looks like a really awesome large mountain that we are climbing. And those are all of our new members. So we're nearly at 3,500 for this year alone. And so that is also why we've brought Chloe in to help with a lot of our new member applications, because with this volume, we want to make sure that we are still moving new members efficiently through the membership process. The goal is never to have more than a 5 business day delay. Sometimes that does get a little bit hairy in January when we've got a lot going on, but that really is always our, we try to have it be, I would say on average 3 to 5 days of getting new members invoiced. So great news that we are so high across the board. This also means 2 things. One, it is important that we get all of these new members renewed for next year. So hence why the renewal campaign is super important. It actually, it's hard to get them back once they decide not to join. So the more that we can do to keep them engaged and to keep their membership coming in, the easier it is for everyone. So great news there. Now, though, we are moving into the end of the year and we have a new membership campaign. So hopefully we can make that blue line a little bit higher. So here I've put up 4 themes for the 15 for 12 campaign renewal messages. So there will also be a toolkit. There's more information coming about this. So you can certainly take notes if you want to, but don't feel like you've got to capture everything down. So the main theme for this recruitment campaign is an investment in crew is an investment in you. And we are also doing some national media advertising. So you might start to see this come up. I know it ran today in the Connect newsletter, if any of you get that. So you'll see that investment in crew is an investment in you. And then these next 2 are things that I find myself saying often. This is the best time of year because you get the most value for your membership. If you were to divide it out by the 15 months, you pay less and you get more. And I'm also emphasizing that membership is valid through December of next year. While both of those items essentially say the same thing, some people hear it differently. So it's good to vary your message. And then the last one I put on here, I will share that last week I was in Mexico City to launch our Mexico presence. And as I was working on this PowerPoint, the stewardess said, "Oh, now we have a special offer for you to get a credit card, and the American Airlines Advantage card, it's limited and only certain people can apply." And they made it sound very exclusive. And what I heard her saying was effective sales tactics. And I wanted to mention some of them here because some of these sales tactics just help people move quickly to making a decision that this is a limited time, which is true because if they don't decide not to join until January, they've lost these 3 months of value that they could have gotten. So that limited time offer, act fast, act now are helpful phrases that you can include in some of your messaging. Okay, so on the next slide, a couple of things that we would recommend, similar to what we did for the mid-year recruitment campaign, is certainly do some email campaigns. First is non-members who have attended an event. So if you remember back to that first infographic I shared, these are people who are in that acquisition stage. So they are already in your database because they've attended an event, or they might be receiving a newsletter of yours, but not yet a member. So that is one target area or one target group to focus a message towards. Second is your current members. So chances are good that they know someone, whether it's somebody else in their company, heck, maybe it's their neighbor. I mean, it could be anyone. Ask them to refer a friend into crew. Then also a third group is members who drop. So if you remember a couple slides ago, we had a lot of members who we lost in 20 and 21. This is a good time to go back to them saying, we miss you. This is the value that we have provided in the last year. Again, this is a good spot to use maybe a message from your president if you're thinking about a year-end summary. We've missed you. Here's what you've missed out on. Please rejoin for the next year. And then also, of course, it's a great time to do a recruitment event, either a standalone event for members who are, again, are in that acquisition phase, or added on to an event that you're already doing. So both are good options. And really, we would encourage you to make that event be focused on the business networking. Maybe it's a market update, but then also it's what business can you share? What business do you need? And having those conversations. You will see that come through as a theme for 2023 as well, is back to our roots and really focusing on business networking for our members. So all of these templates for these emails, as well as the sample agenda, is available in our toolkit. And so, Krista, if you can go to the next slide for me. I believe this is the next slide, is our toolkit. Yep, so you'll have the email, text, event agendas, and graphics. So here are sample graphics for you. Again, these are similar to what is running in the national media campaigns with the 15 for 12. And I think with that is my last slide. And so, yeah, so now is time for questions. And Krista, maybe you can stop sharing so that we can see everybody's photos. There we go. So All right, we've got 20 minutes. I'm happy to give you all time back, but before we do that, would love to take any questions you have, either about 15 for 12 or membership. Looks like Bonnie has asked another question in the chat. With the updates being made to the crew website, will any part of the renewal process be automated? Yeah, so happy to speak to that. So we we actually have two separate systems, and we've got the website that's being updated, and then we are also going to be implementing a brand new membership form, and that will live on the new website. So it's kind of a technical difference on the back end. We are focusing on getting the website, both network and the chapters, right and up and ready first, and then we are going to integrate the membership application, and that will be part of the for new members to apply through that website. Some of the long-term goal is to look at membership renewals, but at the moment that we don't anticipate anything changing for the renewal process for 2023. A good question. All right, another question. People who have attended events but not joined, is that list located in our crew database? Who can answer that? Maybe Chloe, can you answer that one? Or someone else from the chapter admin team? I believe or Kathy actually could answer that for us. Kathy, go for it.
Yeah. So what you do is you go to your chapter management, you go to your event, you download your event report. And on it, you will have a complete list of all attendees, and some will be members and some will be non-members. And that is how you collect over time the list of non-member attendees. There may be a way to ask your crew network partner on the admin side to run a comprehensive list, but I think that takes quite a lot of time and effort. And so I just recommend that you look at your most important, most highly attended events and scan them and see where you seem to have the most number of non-members attending and pull those names out. We have a whole committee who manages, we call it the data monster. They're constantly downloading this and plugging it into an Excel and looking at it and giving information to our sponsor people and our membership people. So it depending on how many members you've got, it can either be a giant thing or not that big of a thing. But the place to start is chapter management, the actual reports that come out after each event.
I will jump in and say, yes, we can do a comprehensive list and it is not that bad. So, and Kathy, if you ever want one, I can, but it's not, if you've got a rolling process.
We got it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
we're good.
but if you've never downloaded a single attendee list and you want the last year's attendees, we can certainly provide that.
Yeah, great question. And if you're not familiar with chapter management, I strongly encourage you to get familiar with that. If you're on this call, I would be surprised if you don't have access. Everyone who is here, you've signed up because you've got a role with membership, so you should have access. Krista, maybe you can just pop the link into the chat for the link to chapter management. That's where you're going to see your number of current members, who has renewed, who has not renewed for this term. You have sponsorship information there. You have event information there. And you'll see in the toolkit that when in some of the email templates, I've indicated which groups of people you should email. We also include instructions for how to get that list through chapter management. So again, if you're not familiar, please let us know. Chapter management is really should be your first stop for most chapter information.
And if you do not have access, I will need your president's approval to give you access. So you can send a quick email to me, but please copy your president so I can get approval from them.
Great question. Always a good segue to talk about other tools that are available. All right, other questions, either about renewals or membership? All right, I'm going to take that pause, going once, going twice. Thoughts on incentives in before the wire. Krista, maybe you can talk about that, what you've seen some different chapters do.
So for incentives, the main thing I see are discounts on the invoice because that's something that directly affects my day-to-day job of getting that updated. The other thing I have heard other chapters do is they'll have, if you renew by a certain date, you are entered into a raffle to earn a gift card. Personally, or not personally, from what Crew Network standpoint, we don't recommend adding a discount to your renewal because it devalues your membership and people will not want to pay. They do not see the value in paying a higher price membership after the discount. So you kind of get stuck in this rut of always having to offer a discount. And then when you remove the discount, so our first answer is don't recommend adding a discount to your renewal invoice, and instead offering things like a raffle or a t-shirt or chapter admin. Have you had seen other things? That's the side that I don't necessarily see as much because it's not directly related to the invoice.
Chris, I'm going to call on you. Any other thoughts?
I was trying to rack my brain what else I've seen. Like there was one year that I know that somebody did coffee mugs or t-shirts, like they could pick. Yeah, raffle I think is probably more common. Register by or renew by December 31st, and then everybody goes in a raffle January 1, and then they get a prize. You could do $5 Starbucks cards to everybody. You could do, there's lots of little touches.
And one thing to know about that is with chapter management, you cannot, so let me back up. So let's say you are offering a raffle to anyone who renews by December 20th, let's say. You are not able to log in on December 31st and see who renewed by this date. It's a live document. There's not a way to backtrack. So if you are offering a discount on a specific date, please make sure you go in immediately the next morning and download that list so you can see who did renew. That's one of the finicky things that you will have to do.
Yep, great question. Awesome. So Laura, thanks for offering to share. If you're following in the chat, I've asked Laura to just post the resource on CrewBiz, so you'll see it tomorrow. Because I would love for all, there's other membership folks who aren't able to join this call today and would like to share there. So yeah, so please share your resources. And that is something that Krista and I are working on for next year as well. How are we making sure that we are sharing resources, either that chapters have developed or that network has developed, so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. All right, I'm gonna call again. Last call. We've got 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, nobody else came in before the wire. So with that, I will first just say a big thank you first to the Crew Network team, Krista and Chloe certainly, but then all of the others who have joined us today for their tireless work. Membership really touches everything that we do, as well as their work serving our chapter. So a big thank you to the chapter services and membership team #1. And then thank you to you for the work that you've done with your chapters and bringing new members in. As you saw from the slides earlier, we've had a lot of really great success this year, and it's an exciting moment to capitalize on this moving forward for next year and go from here. So we'll send you, I would say probably by the end of the week, you'll get an email that has the recording for today's session, the toolkit, and any additional information that we want to plug into that. So you'll get that by the end of the week. And please let any of us know if you've got questions. And otherwise, we'll see you all soon. So thank you.
Thanks all.